What's up, everyone? This is the Tesla Beat number 138, man. And what a boring week, right? I mean, what are we constantly hearing? I do just want to do two quick shout outs. Brian is at the Chattanooga Charge. And so if you are in the Tennessee area, East Coast, people from all over the United States, we know even people here from California that are driving all the way out. You should make it to Chattanooga. It's called the Chattanooga Charge. Look that up in your search browser or AI, whatever you use, and go and buy some tickets. Josh and Amanda and their amazing volunteering team are putting on an amazing show. You'll be able to see speakers like Brian, Joe Tagmeyer, Josh West 24/7, a lot of other greats. And then second, a quick shout out to Insta360. They do they provide some amazing products like the Ace Pro 2. Link 2C is a great travel companion. And with that said, let's get into it. All right, guys. So the market has just been bad. It's partially, I think, due to the state of this war that's happening. And so this is not anything specific to Tesla. But it is down 15%. I think it's been down probably this week about an additional 5%, because I think last week, we were at, 395. So, with that said, the overall market is just a little bit suppressed due to just the, all of the stuff that's going on with stuff going on in the world. One thing that is, good for Tesla owners, though, is gas is not one of those problems. Joe, this is probably the biggest news of the week. So can you hit us off with, kicking us off this week on this topic?
Yeah, this is pretty awesome. The Terafab countdown. So when he announced this a few days ago, we're like literally one day away from it. But the Terafab launches in 7 days. So there's been a lot of talk about this, and I know that Amy and I know Matthew has some interesting tidbits on it. But I like what he said about the AI5 in response to your comment. So looks like there's some luck with accelerating using AI. So that's pretty good there. Be taped out the AI6 in December. But go ahead, Matthew. Tell us your thoughts on this. Then we'll go to Brian because he knows all about factories.
Yeah, I mean, this factory might be more ambitious than any other factory Tesla's built other than China. The sheer volume of production that they're aiming for in several years will be massive. The big thing for Tesla, one is, we're going to be producing chips designed specifically for our vehicles that will operate more efficiently. And we're going to cut out the margins from a company like NVIDIA that's making, 70-75% margins on the chips they're selling us. So, if we can essentially cut the cost of the chips by, 66% or something like that, we're going to see massive increment to the margins on these products.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot here. This is, in my opinion, the most ambitious thing they've done. The second would be Dojo. This is a very, very specialized field. The equipment that you need to make chips isn't something you just build. You have to, it's an industry that's taken 50 years to mature. I'm expecting to see some kind of partnership like we saw with the Panasonic battery factory, where you bring in a partner who knows what they're doing, who has experience doing it, who doesn't have an insane ramp time. Because like with Dojo, what we saw was they just couldn't get it off the drawing board in time for it to actually be competitive. If they could have launched it 2-3 years sooner, it would have been a competitive chip. By then, NVIDIA had gotten to the point where it was cost effective to use theirs instead. Even with the markup, the energy savings alone made it worthwhile. NVIDIA is not going anywhere. They are still a powerhouse. But to John's point, to everybody's point, really, trimming 70-80% out of the cost, half the cost of your chip, 2/3 of the cost of your chip is going to put you at a tremendous competitive advantage. Tesla doesn't buy enough chips to do this. Oh, wait, are you saying millions of cars, millions of Optimus, and is that still not enough? No, still not enough. We need more demand. I know this company next door called SpaceX AI that might have some need for chips. Do you think they could buy some? Yes, they could. They would need exactly this. So the demand is there, and what's not there on the roadmap today is enough chips from all of the legacy companies to fulfill it. But if you're looking at something like a partnership where you say, I get to be in control, I get to be in the driver's seat, I get to tell you what I need, and we make it happen together, and I just guarantee I'll buy all your stock. That makes it a real easy deal. And that's what I'm expecting to see. That's what I'm hoping to see, because there's a lot of complications in making your own chips, as others who've tried it have found out.
So along those lines of being hard and difficult and needing a partner, it has been known that right now Elon is walking, the current fab building with Samsung, and I think he's pretty much doing everything he can to like learn what he can from that interaction, as well as everything else that he soaks up things like a sponge. And John, if you pull that image back up, this this chip that they're designing, it's like the way they're doing it is like a half reticle design, which is like you get basically double the amount of output of chips versus what everybody else is doing. So I mean, not only did they do a radical design on the chip, but also you're looking at the fact that they're looking at going down this path where they have to make chips, because right now there's a 2-year leadway, which I think Amy had talked about that. Like you have they have like 2 years worth of chips that they have worked out with all the manufacturers and everything, right? But after that, hopefully, if this gets started right now soon enough, then they'll have a year or two underway to where they can actually like see how production is going, or whatever, or how things are materializing, you know what I mean, to where they can like it looks good going forward as a it's like you were saying about Dojo. You know what I mean? They didn't have this lead time. Now it looks like they're giving themselves enough lead time to get something built and at least start it so that they can go forward. You got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I would say, I think it's well, so of course Brian always gives like the full answer. I was going to ask a great follow-up question, which he pretty much had answered. It comes down to one of those things where, Tesla's in a situation where, they can see where they're going to be at in 3 to 5 years. And as Joe, you were calling out, they know what the 2-year demand is going to be. They've already pretty much got their suppliers, their chip suppliers lined up on that. But as Elon has always said, I mean, he said this probably 6 months ago, maybe longer, at the shareholder meeting, where he was just like, we realize what the biggest bottleneck is going to be. It's going to be chips. It's going to be, and there's not enough suppliers that can meet our demand. I mean, even if all these companies stop selling to other companies, maybe they could fulfill the demand. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where Elon, again, it's similar to the lithium refinery. He's like, can please someone do this? Like, I don't want to have to get into lithium. But when they realize and see these big bottlenecks, that's where they have to step in. And instead of, and not only will it be because it's a hard issue to fix, but they can make it with, as we know, how Elon engineers things with first principles. They're going to look at how NVIDIA is doing things. They're going to look at how some of these other companies are putting, their chips together, and they're going to say, oh, you know what, we can do this better here. And they can also, obviously, as we know, tailor it to the specific type of things versus like a general type chip to like the things that we need to focus on. So it's going to be, like I said, and Brian, I mean, you also mentioned too, just the fact that SpaceX could be a big customer of this as well, and will be. And so, it's, if they can cut out, as I think Matthew was saying, just, 75% or a ton of costs. We already know that what's going to happen is that, again, this is all money that's going to go to the P&L, and they can control more of their own destiny. And this goes back to the whole vertical integration, right? Which is they own everything from soup to nuts, right? It's there's not going to be at that point. I don't even know at that point what they're not making of their own, right? maybe the vegan leather, but
They're not making tires.
So that's the
True.
joke in China, is that BYD is so vertically integrated. The only things that they're not making is the glass and the tires. And if you look at their headcount, they're at over 1 million, 1.3 million. They have 10 times the headcount of Tesla. And it's because they have their own ships. They have their own mines, not just the refinery, but the actual mine itself. There are miners who work at BYD. So there are always more things you can vertically integrate. But at what cost? BYD is not getting the kind of margins that you would expect from someone that vertically integrated. They're not substantially cheaper than their Chinese competitors who are using suppliers. So there are benefits to sharing the risk. I don't need to see Tesla making glass unless they've come up with a way to do it that's revolutionary, that's disruptive. And that's what Elon does. The lithium refinery uses a new process that they came up with. We can refine lithium cheaper. We're going to do it. You eliminate millions of dollars out of the supply chain just by doing things yourself in a smarter way. So yeah, when it makes sense, always do it. But do you need to make tires? You're already getting the best price there is because of volume, and they do move a substantial volume of tires, and they don't have one brand they go with. They'll pit them against each other to get the best deal. There's ways to make both ways work, and I have absolute confidence that Tesla knows how to negotiate those things.
Just a little bit.
Is there a reason why Tesla wouldn't buy ships like how BYD did? Have their own?
I don't know. I'd have to think on that.
I thought that was such a gangster move by BYD. I was like, holy cow.
Yes and no. It's more helpful when you have things moving in both directions, and Tesla always only has things moving in one direction. So I don't know what BYD puts on those ships for the return journey. Nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Like, why? Yeah, that makes sense. I might.
Freaking Brian, man. See, I didn't think about that. Right.
That's all right. So probably the most anticipated unveil this year, and really, we've been waiting almost 10 years now for this thing to hit production, and so now the Roadster late April unveil. True, new Tesla unveil probably in late April. So at least he's, I thought it was going to be more like June. He alluded to April 1st, but now they're signaling end of April. So it sounds like things are really in a good place for it. And it's probably just, tinkering. And then the real question will become, where are they going to have this launch? I don't know if LA makes sense because that's where the design studio is. That's where Franz is. But when you think about it from a track perspective, like I feel like, they're probably like Fremont may make the most sense unless they're going to rent out some space down in LA, which is totally possible. But yeah, I mean, this is also just, very exciting news.
We don't know what the Roadster is. We don't know what's magic about it yet, apart from everything. It's a blank slate. It can be whatever you dream it is, and boy, are people dreaming. But once we get a location for the event, that'll be our biggest clue yet. What kind of area is it? If it's in the heart of a city, we can rule out flight. If it's in the middle of nowhere, now we've got better questions. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But the word of caution I always give is until something is a couple weeks out, until they're printing the tickets, don't count on any dates. We see dates slip a lot. Anything that's more than a month or two out is subject to change because it's more aspirational than locked in. They don't want to sit on the news for too long, and they're happy to push the team to try and get things done quicker, but sometimes you got to turn your 8-8 event into 10-10.
Well, this isn't also a big production, like a high production vehicle. Where would they even make it? Would it be Texas, or would they do it out of Fremont?
It depends. Well, it depends how small it is. Cadillac makes their flagship on their prototype line, on their hand-built line, which is not designed for production. It's designed for one car at a time. I would have thought that they might have integrated it into the S and X line and just make all three and keep the S and X. But once I saw the YL, I was convinced, nah, they're getting rid of these. So I don't know where it would be made, but I mean, it may. I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
My thought.
we've been expecting this car now for years. You know, I was told back in 2024 that they're gonna start deliveries at the end of that year, and that they were already working on like the technical training materials for it. And then a month after being told that, you know, Elon tweeted that it would be unveiled at the end of the year and delivered the next year, and of course that keeps getting extended. I think, you know, it's obviously been so long since the vehicle was announced, and you know, a lot of people have paid a huge deposit, if not the full amount, for the vehicle. Tesla really has to hit it out of the park, you know, from day zero. So I think Elon is making sure everything is absolutely perfect. But remember, it is just the unveil. I don't think there's going to be deliveries of this vehicle at the event. But yeah, like Brian said, don't buy tickets unless they're refundable. I think is the general the general strategy for Tesla events once they get announced.
This is so like the original Roadster, delay after delay. I mean, for people who've been following the company as long as I'm sure Matthew and I have, like, it's just wild to think like how long how long that initially took from when it was supposed to drop.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, these guys can be late, but they always deliver. And obviously, you're talking a super small team of of engineers. They're not a team that's going to overhire, and the amount of stuff that this Tesla team has had on their plate has been crazy. And obviously, as we know, they're going to always target the most important things and volume. And so now it's great that they've gotten together finally to do this. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully it happens at the end of April, but you know, at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen. All right. So V4 ramp for the superchargers. If you don't know, the V4 cabinets are 500 kilowatts of charging speed. It could have the capabilities of going all the way close up to, it'll be able to go all the way up to, I think it's like 1,000 kilowatts potentially. The other thing is it's 2 times more efficient than the previous cabinet as well. So, you know, I think Sawyer put out a post. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them. The first one was here in Redwood City. I did testing to get it up to 500 kilowatts, which was pretty cool. It didn't last very long. You're talking seconds. But yeah, just, you know, so great to see that they are officially building the next ones on the V4. So all new superchargers you see opening will be V4.
The other big thing about it is it's the voltage is variable from 400 up to 1,000, meaning that if you've got a Lucid or a Taycan, you can charge at your higher speed instead of being artificially throttled, which means for people from other networks using it, they're going to be in and out faster. Of course, you're still going to see that Nissan Aria sitting there for 45 minutes trying to get up to 70%, but that's a Nissan problem. So this is going to be great. And the cabinet on the back end, it's the same equipment that they're using for the mega charger. So the mega chargers are going to enjoy the same economies of scale that the superchargers have, which is going to be critical in terms of getting that rolled out far and wide. And of course, the first mega chargers, public mega chargers, open in Los Angeles too.
Yep. All right, Joe, this one's to you.
Yes, Cybercab. People are wondering about what type of exemption they would need for the Cybercab. Apparently, it's a Model Y. CERN Basher says it's no exemption needed. So the summary here, the VIN is decoded and it's looks like to be listed as a Model Y. Matthew, you got any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, until it's in full production, I wouldn't get too caught up in whatever the VIN says. I mean, we have the positive note coming from the Department of Transportation that essentially vehicles without steering wheels are going to be allowed, and that there'll be federal regulation in place, so cities won't have the ability to restrict the access of self-driving vehicles on the roads, which is actually going to help cities. But yeah, as far as the VIN on uh, a release candidate or pre-production cyber cab, I wouldn't be really concerned about it.
Matthew, can you just restate? So what's happening at the federal level? I feel like that was like news, maybe it was last week or something, but what's happening at the federal level for, cars without steering wheels?
I mean, essentially, they've said, "Hey, America needs to get used to seeing vehicles without steering wheels." So there will be, it sounds like, federal regulation stating that as long as the manufacturer has met certain safety standards and is either insured or taking responsibility, that you can build and deploy autonomous vehicles, which is going to be great for all cities. There are some states, like Arizona and California and Florida and Texas, that are allowing at least the test of autonomous vehicles, and some states and some cities that aren't. But in the long run, any state or city or country, for that matter, that restricts autonomous vehicles is just going to neuter themselves long term, because transportation in their cities is going to be far more expensive, and they're not going to be competitive. So if you look at right now, say Austin and San Antonio, they're very close to each other. They compete for businesses. They compete for population. If Austin makes autonomous vehicles fully legal and San Antonio doesn't, it's going to cost you more money to get to work or to buy groceries or to get deliveries in San Antonio. So this is having a federal regulation is not only good for the autonomous vehicle manufacturers, but it's good for the cities in the long term as well.
Definitely. All right, Tesla and LG, U.S. Korea collab. Sawyer posted, the U.S. government has officially announced that Tesla and LG have signed an agreement to build 4.3 billion lithium iron phosphate prismatic battery cell manufacturing factory. Geez, that's loaded. in Michigan. American-made cells will power Tesla's Megapack 3 energy storage systems produced in Houston, creating a robust domestic battery supply chain. So this is, just paving the way, for really the Megapack, and really just building these Megapacks here just building, what is it, lithium iron phosphate prismatic battery cells here in the U.S. So you're seeing this more, especially with this current administration, obviously trying to bring a lot more of these plants back here. So just another big one and huge collaboration.
And this is one that 2 weeks before it was announced, I had a video discussing where all the batteries are coming from and where they're going. Some of them you can use in more than one thing. 4680, of course, will be in Optimus. It'll be in Cybercab, Cybertruck. At the very least, also Semi is the plan. But where are we going to get? I mean, we're putting up a new Megapack factory in Texas. It's going to produce 50 gigawatt hours of product. Where are you going to get the batteries? So I had actually just assumed that it was LG. That was in my video, that was the premise of it. Somebody had bought that capacity. We didn't know who, but I mean, who else can consume 50 gigawatt hours of batteries? So it's, I guess, nice to have the confirmation.
Well, let me ask you a question, Brian. Does the robot doesn't need 4680s though, right? I mean, it could use the prismatic cells. It would last longer, especially if they're LFPs.
The energy density wouldn't be as high, so you'd be charging more frequently. And although you can charge an LFP to 100 quite comfortably, I think that they're more likely to just stick with 4680s and charge them to 100. But the plan is to use the 4680s. The prismatic is blocky. I don't know what shape the battery housing is going to be, but 4680 gives you a lot more flexibility in not having to reserve a whole little brick for the batteries. And that factory was originally was scheduled to make pouch cells, the LG, the infamous pouch cells that love to swell. So that's not great. But when GM scaled back their Ultium joke, I guess if you call it that, it's barely a joke, they realized that they just had way too much capacity. Nobody wanted to buy those pouch cells, so they just retooled and did LFP for Tesla.
Yeah. All right. Next slide, Joe. This one's to you. Middle East.
Yeah. So, well, this is going actually to MDR because he's the one who found this. I didn't actually see this for the Tesla Europe, but yeah, apparently the FSD supervised is testing very well out there in the Middle East, right, Matthew?
Well, in the Netherlands. So this is Tesla EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, Africa. Yeah, so the testing is going well, and Tesla announced that essentially they should have full approval by the summer for FSD on Dutch roads. Because of agreements within Europe, any other EU or European country can accept the Dutch testing and deploy FSD in their countries without doing their own individual testing.
So that's like our federal.
Yeah. I mean, Europe has obviously a huge amount of countries, or the EU has a huge amount of countries, and they share. They try to make it easy to do business with each company. So there are certain things that if one country approves, all the other countries can accept, things like medical testing, for example. So apparently autonomous driving is another one. So it sounds like FSD will be available in any European country that chooses to accept the Netherlands testing in the summer. So I got quite a few messages I have a lot of family in Ireland, so I was getting messages from some of my family who have FSD3 vehicles over there, and they're wondering if they'll be able to use it as well. And my response is essentially this is a regulation restriction that's being removed. FSD is not allowed due to regulations, not for a technical reason. So I would imagine FSD will be available on AI3 and AI4 vehicles.
Well, and also like you were saying, if you don't allow it, you're just pretty much like kind of shooting your own self in the foot at this point. Like times in technology is moving so fast, you do not want to be one of the places that didn't allow it, and you're like left behind, and everybody else is just like using autonomous vehicles for everything, and then you're like, oh, they're having fun over there.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at what's happening in Australia, the FSD in Australia is getting a ton of positive press. I think we're going to start to see that in Europe. The attitude towards Tesla in Europe over the past few years has kind of reversed. There's a lot of negativity about the company and about Elon, and so hopefully when this comes out, this will provide a bunch of positive information. Europe is built really well for adopting Teslas and electric vehicles. Most countries there already have 220 volt plugs, just instead of 100 and 110 120 volt plugs that we have here. They can charge vehicles at their home very quickly without installing level 2 chargers. The roads are narrower, smaller. They need to pay a lot more attention while driving. In Europe, rules are a lot stricter about using your phone or eating or drinking and things like that in the car. Their countries there are a lot smaller, outside of the big Germany, France, Spain, things like that. A country like England or Ireland or Portugal, you could essentially drive almost, if not all, the entire country with at most one charging stop. So there's really not a lot of reasons not to use EVs in Europe. And once FSD is out and starts getting a lot better attention, I think we could see a sales bump there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, like, even with, well, the thing is that, Tesla, when they released the autopilot, and they had that in Europe, I mean, it really was 10 paces ahead of everyone else in Europe. But then with the regulation, everyone's caught up, and there's really no difference between a Tesla as far as like the the full self-driving capabilities because it's all regulated, and Tesla's obviously, as we know, is being held back from a software update. And so, I think unless you are, because again, as Joe and even Brian would always say, we're in a bubble here. And so people like that we see all the time, they're following it. We see friends from Europe flying here to see what's going on. But unless they're following it super closely, you really have no idea that you think everything's probably the same, right? And so once this happens, as Matthew pointed out in Australia, I think this is really going to it's just going to become one of those things where there's just going to be it's becoming a no-brainer, and you're seeing it even happen now with here in the US. I mean, I can't tell you how many videos I'm seeing of people getting their first car and it's a Tesla, and the full self-driving capabilities are really just such a game changer for them. And so in Europe, like I said, I think the narrative will change. And again, technology and a good product will always sell despite how people may feel about other people. Again, if you're going to be if you're going to go experience it, hopefully these people that maybe don't want to buy a Tesla because of Elon, well, at least go drive it. Just go see what experience is so you know what the future is like, so that anything else you drive will just be, subpar. But hopefully, our friends in Europe across the pond can get some type of full self-driving, because it really is life-changing, and it changes the way transportation happens for me and for, I know, everyone, even on this call. So. All right. Bill Gates would say that this is AI. So the Tesla Semi is a hit. Sawyer put out, the Wall Street Journal posted an article. Tesla finally has its first semi truck. I said finally, like I love it. And it's already a hit with truckers. It's like, well, where have you been? And the quote is, truckers who drove it in pilot tests say they love the features, including a centered driving position, faster charging, and longer range for about 100,000 less than the other battery electric trucks. Angel Rodriguez, 56, said this, and he just said, it's just easier on your body. It's less stressful because you're not really having to engage the clutch and the stick shift. So, and then I think Elon posted it, the Tesla Semi is fun to drive. So, but yeah, I think this is all, it's great. I mean, I think we had this discussion on our podcast a couple of times ago. I think even Hans mentioned this. He's like, well, unfortunately, the truckers aren't going to be the ones necessarily making the decision to purchase these, right? Unless it's the business owner per se. But they, if you can get more of them in that can potentially help influence. The good thing is, per this quote, it's $100,000 less than other battery electric trucks. And as we know, these paths are well defined. And so, hopefully more people can continue to get in these and, not only start saving money, but really just changing the whole trucker experience altogether.
And if you look at the reality is that it's very hard to get and keep a truck driver in your company. If you have the easiest trucks to drive, the best trucks to drive, you're going to have better employee retention. You're going to be able to attract people easier. And if someone's trying to consider going somewhere else, and he's like, oh, I have to go back to a diesel. These are cheaper than the other electrics, quite a bit, depending on the model. And if you are looking at the total cost of ownership, they're cheaper than a diesel as well. I've seen too many comments recently on my channel from people who've never commented before that are all singing the exact same song as if the legacy guys are afraid and they've sent out the messaging. The companies won't want this, buddy. It's not up to you and me. The companies will count the numbers themselves. They will decide. Either it works or it doesn't. And it looks like there's no shortage of demand, even on longer routes that we weren't thinking would be considered in the first wave. The truck doesn't have to go 1,000 miles. It just has to go long enough to cover a driver's full day with breaks. You go 400 or 500 miles, plug in and charge for a half hour during the mandatory break. You've got enough to finish out your day easily. That's all that matters.
Yeah, my mom was a truck driver for over 20 years, and I can tell you, and she will gladly tell you how much it wears on your body having to shift through all those gears. And she used to take us for rides, and you're talking like 20 gears, like, it's insane. what truckers have to deal with, and back then the seats weren't as comfortable as they are now, but still it's brutal on the body, and that's why they have the mandatory times that people have to take a step away. No matter what you're doing, you have to stop. So I can see that, but I also know that right now there's a shortage of truck drivers, realistically, and probably it's because it's so difficult to drive the trucks and pass the test. But you start making, like, I mean, this is an automatic vehicle. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about shifting through gears and learning all that stuff, and downshifting and all that is really great. You know what I mean? For an electric vehicle, you just the regen takes over. So I think it's a lot easier to drive, and like you were saying, it's going to get a lot more people interested to work for a company that has these vehicles versus the others.
Well, it might be interesting long term if those restrictions about brakes get eased for autonomous trucking. Any type of long term driving really wears you out mentally. A lot of us who have road tripped in our cars and switched to Teslas, you notice, like, after a 4 or 5 hour drive in a Tesla with FSD, you're not actually tired when you arrive. Where usually you're drained from making millions of micro decisions that you just don't have to make in a Tesla. So, what if the restrictions on taking breaks are loosened for autonomous drivers? It could make it way more profitable to ship with a autonomous EV truck than a diesel truck.
Sounds good. Well, I think we already covered this, so I won't spend too much time. 4 cities now. I'm waiting. Actually, there's one happening here in Campbell, California, 500 kilowatts. But yeah, they're going out. Obviously, as we saw before, the V3's end of life. They made their last one. Now it's up to 500 kilowatts. All right, Joe, I'll kick this one to you. Who's driving, or not really driving? Who's
Yeah.
super-
Driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's Franz. He was spotted in the cybercab on the 405 going through LA. That's pretty cool. I don't know.
You can literally see his face right there too.
Ryan, man, of all the people to catch you, it would be Ryan. That's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, now we're seeing them everywhere. They're yeah, I think, well, I don't think too many have been in LA. I have not seen too many sightings down in LA.
Yeah, mostly
There's
Texas.
been a ton, mostly Texas, because obviously that's where the factory is. There's been a lot up here in the Bay, but the Bay Area is so big. Austin, right, is a little bit, the city limits are a little bit small, like the downtown area, versus here in the Bay, it's like you got, huge cities with downtown areas. So from San Francisco to San Jose, so there's not like one area to go to. But LA is the same way as well. So really cool to see. But yeah, seeing Franz, sitting back, looking at people filming him. And but yes, this is very strong signal as we continue to see these out on the road. All right, so hope is not lost. Dan, shout out to Dan. Any ideas when 14.3 will drop, or has it been scraped? It's in testing right now. Wide release in a few weeks. So we'll see. Exciting because, like I said, I don't know if he's still going to stand by, oh, hey, at this point, 14.3, you can sleep. But I think he was talking about even 14.2 was supposed to be where you could like full on text and drive, which is, I mean, it's getting there for sure. But yeah, either way, this will come in the upcoming weeks.
I just want Summon on the Cybertruck. Everything else is irrelevant.
Yeah, man. Well, I will say that thankfully Tesla has been good. Like ever since the Cybertruck got FSD, it's been consistent with all of the other updates. Versus I thought, for the longest time that the Cybertruck would just kind of be very, very behind. But thankfully they've done a good job making sure it's kind of caught up. But Smart Summon is not one of those. Joe, I'll pass this one to you, man.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Sawyer was very good about putting a layout of things happening in April. So you have the first test flight of Starship V3, Cybercab production begins, Tesla FSD 14.3 potentially launches, X Money public access next gen Roadster. On the X Money front, William Shatner had something to say about the guy from Silicon Valley being included in that little public X Money.
Yeah, man, Captain Kirk, bro. That's just the power of X. I mean, and William is what, 94 now, and just to see him popping off on X. But long story short, I was asking him, hey, are you guys going to do another round? And what's happening right now, he's got a nonprofit, and he's essentially selling off accounts to early access from X Money for $1,000 donation. And so, we were able to round up, I think, probably like 4 or 5 members to get early access to donate to a good cause and to support Captain Kirk. But yeah, I mean, I think there's like 3% cash back and 6% interest on the savings account there. So X Money is going to continue to lead the way. But with that said, man, I mean, this is, Cybercab production, V13, 14.3, Roadster. I mean, those are all just the Tesla related ones. It's pretty exciting stuff. Never a dull moment, that's for sure. All right. I think Sawyer posted this, again, software updates here. Looks like the 2026 Model Ys are getting more comfortable braking with software updates. Your Tesla now provides a smoother feel as you come to a complete stop during routine braking. I feel like, anyone that ever got a Tesla, that was always their complaint, was just kind of like the regen. So I think, and that was always like the biggest complaint. Yeah. That was always the biggest complaint. So, I personally have not experienced this update yet, but Joe, you'll have to let me know, or, Brian or Matt, if you guys have a Model Y. I know you do, but I don't know if you've experienced that yet.
I haven't experienced it yet, but the Model Y, for whatever reason, it seems to do better with FSD and with all the updates and everything. All the cameras are the same. The placement is the same on that and the Cybertruck, but yet it just it drives better, and FSD is just a lot more fluid on the Model Y. It's really, really bizarre.
Just a little bit. All right. Well, looks like we breezed through everything quickly. But with that said, Joe, what's the upbeat, man?
The upbeat is our rapid fire news segment. Are you ready, Matthew?
Let's go.
Yeah, this is Matthew's first one, so we're gonna hopefully
freeze, is what he's gonna say.
Not happening.
All right, Matthew, first one to you. This is a Rolls-Royce. It's all electric. Not happening. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen virtually every legacy auto manufacturer has made commitments to shift to manufacturing EVs because of government incentives and restrictions. And now that those incentives and restrictions are going away in most places, there's no reason for them to build EVs. They lose money building EVs. Their customers are buying those vehicles because they like those motors and those cars and the legacy of them. So there's not a lot of shift. A small manufacturer like Rolls-Royce or Bentley or Ferrari or Lamborghini, they know they're not the best technology companies in the world. They know they're not going to be able to compete with not only Tesla, but even somebody like Rivian or Lucid or one of the Chinese EV manufacturers. So there's really, if they're not being forced to make EVs, it's kind of suicide for them to do it, because if they're losing 100% margin, negative 100% margin on the cars, it's kind of crazy. So it will be long term, will be the demise of those vehicles. Eventually, virtually all vehicles will be EVs. Look what's happened in Norway and other states that have initially given huge subsidies to EVs and then removed those. The EV sales have remained, once you get past kind of a tipping point. So, we know, I believe it was Lamborghini last week also announced that they're no longer building their electric Urus, and we'll see I don't, Ferrari has announced their car. I don't think anybody will buy it. I have a friend who owns several Ferraris and Lamborghinis and is in those clubs, and he says he hasn't met a single person who actually wants that car. If you're an EV fan, you're not going to buy the car. Buy a Tesla or Lucid or Rivian. And if you're a Ferrari or Lamborghini fan, you want that big, loud V12 or V8. So why would you buy that car? So we'll see more of these.
We will see it. In the luxury space. It's very easy to build a luxury dyno burner. You just put a big engine in it and you use premium materials. You're done. That's really it. But when you want to build a premium electric vehicle, you need the best technology, which is not easy. It's very complicated. And what they would do is build on that old philosophy where it's heavier and stronger and more powerful. Oh, and the range sucks because we already put 3 tons of batteries in it and it's still not enough. And now we've got a whole different batch of problems. So they would have to be much smarter at engineering. Forget it. We're going back to the splody juice.
Awesome. All right, we'll hit the next slide. And Matthew, I think it's about time for you to dip out, but I wanted to thank you, man. You've been a great patron.
Oh yeah, actually, I can keep going till the end of the hour. So,
Jeez.
Yes, let's go.
Joe doesn't read the messages, the private chat. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
All right, Brian. Tesla and China make a solar deal, $2.9 billion worth of solar equipment.
So it's easy to buy panels. Anyone can do it, but I don't want panels. I want the machine that builds the panels, and that's what Tesla's looking at. This is kind of in the price range I was expecting. I was thinking 1 to 2 billion. This is 3. Hey, we got some inflation we got to deal with, and it probably includes the tariffs to get the equipment in. Tesla will build their own solar panels. It's not something they want to do, but the tariffs are high enough that even if it costs them 30, 50, 80% more than importing them, they'll do it because it ends up being net cheaper. And that means Tesla's going to have all this capacity. They will sell them, surely, but they will also keep them. They'll be using them at their facilities. They'll be using them anywhere that they control the land at a charger, which is not most properties. Most properties they don't control. They couldn't put in a new megapack if they wanted. And then, of course, this means that now inside the Elon family of companies, you've got the ability to start considering making space grade solar panels, which are a bit different, not radically different, but different. And there is a rumor that Starlink, SpaceX, and the new compute constellation might have a demand for a substantial number of those space grade cells. So this is not a surprise. And 2-3 billion out of the existing cash pile is not a concern.
Nice.
All right, Joe. Chattanooga Charge. What do you think, man? EV and Tesla enthusiasts ready to hit the Southeast.
Yeah, this is pretty cool for Teslarati to put this out, and Brian, boots on the ground. Look forward to your coverage, man. It's going to be pretty awesome. Is that Tesla Tina? Oh, that's not Tesla Tina.
I'm excited for it. I don't know even where that is. I'm not sure where that one is.
Teslarati just pulled a random image.
He just pulled a random picture. But hey, at least
that's not the Chattanooga Charge, that's for sure.
No, but at least they are showing the love. It's there's a lot of great speakers out here. There's a lot of great sponsors. So yeah, if you can get here, we've got it kicks off tomorrow. And we've got a off-road thing on Sunday. It's going to be a whole heap and helping of fun.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of fun.
Brian is always everywhere.
That is the truth. All right. Matthew, Stanislaus, I can't freaking say it. Stellantis. Stellantis, man, whatever, dude. GM wants NACS, even though part of GM already has it, right?
Well, Stellantis is Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep. I think there might be one more. Yeah, I want to add NACS. I mean, if you want to sell any EV in the North American market, it's you don't really have a choice. they're in a really tough spot. You look at their what say Dodge is primarily known for, its big, loud muscle cars. V8 Chargers and Challengers. Their customers like those cars. Their customers do not want EVs, and they certainly don't want a crappy EV. So it's kind of too little, too late. I think Stellantis is essentially lost as the one of the big three. I said it a couple days ago, but I think Ford and GM, in about 10 years or so, they're going to be in a really rough spot because they haven't embraced EVs like they should. They haven't embraced autonomy like they should. Eventually, I think the government is going to have to bail them out, probably bail out Ford on condition that they acquire GM to save them both from laying off tons of auto workers. So Stellantis, they've got to throw in the towel. I think at some point they only are building a handful of different models. They're not very popular. They're losing market share. It's a tough spot.
Yeah, this is kind of news to me because I thought everybody was already in on Next. It's like, Stellantis, why y'all holding out? Y'all really?
Well, I thought maybe when GM makes that announcement, you would think that all of their subsidiaries would be on the same page.
It's a different company. GM's
they split off.
Yeah.
Stellantis split off.
See,
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's what happens when you don't follow these small moves like this, I guess.
Yeah, they all decided to form their own, which they became Stellantis.
All right, Brian, Giga Berlin grows. It's been quite a while since I last carried my camera gear around the Tesla campus. A lot happened since.
Yeah, so there was this union vote for the collective bargaining thing. And of course, some of the workers felt they needed much more representation. Many of the majority of voting workers, however, felt, no, things are pretty good the way they are. Elon had kind of hinted that, look, if we get some onerous new contract, it's going to hamper expansion. Well, the votes passed. Everything stays the same. That means it's expansion time. And they're getting ready to do a lot there. We've heard whispers that semi-production could be brought to Europe, but we've heard shouts that Cybercab will come to Europe. Now that we know they're potentially a month from FSD supervised being allowed in Europe, that it could be, and I mean, that could be weeks. It could be by the end of the month we have FSD approval in Europe. Then that cracks the door wide open for robotaxi. That would be a big deal. And they're already making batteries there, or they will be soon. All the equipment is there. It's been commissioned. They're probably just dialing it in. So this is very exciting, and it's good to see the people of the Brandenburg area getting some more love. This is one of the biggest employers in the district, and I don't know. I've yet to see employees that were anything but delighted to be there.
Yeah. All right, Joe, BMW i3 coming in hot.
Yeah, BMW announced they're one of their more popular vehicles. I mean, for people who have BMWs, like M3 competition is like a huge deal. So to make an i3, a BMW with this level of go get them. You got, what is this? 440 miles of range. It's pretty good. 469 horsepower. Yeah, it's got some pretty good stats in it. So it can add 250 miles in 10 minutes. It's not bad. So I think that's pretty good.
I would point out to the people saying, see how easy it is to build a good car. This is the size of a Model 3, and it's 350 pounds heavier than a Model S. That's because they just put a giant, like 112 kilowatt hour pack in it. That's not magic. That's just a big battery.
It's like the Hummer
magic.
EV. Double the size of the battery. All of a sudden, the range is huge.
The range is acceptable on a Hummer. And I just don't know how well this is going to take the Nürburgring when you're trying to pull that much weight around in a car that small. But and it's going to cost, rumor is between 55 and 60,000. So this is not a Model 3 competitor. This is its own, it carved out its own class. And if people want it, that's great. I'm happy. Please buy it.
This will make a great lease car in 2 years when you can lease one for $299 a month. It actually looks like a really nice car. BMWs, they are the options king. So yeah, it might start at 50 or 60, but once you add in all the good options, you're going to be.
You have an option to not have a
$90,000.
slanty screen.
Yeah. I mean, if you're comparing this to buying an M3 or something that might only be 10 or 20% more, it's going to be a tough sell, because kind of like we mentioned with the Dodge buyers, BMW buyers, they buy BMW because it's a sporty, aggressive car, not because it's a luxurious car like, say, a Mercedes. It is luxurious, but it's the sporty competitor. So if you're a sports car driver, is this the car you're going to want to own? I think it's probably this and the iX3 are the two best EVs we've seen from BMW. I think it will actually be a decent car. I don't know if you've seen the rear leg room, but because the battery is twice as big as, say, like a standard range Model 3, they have to put the batteries somewhere, and the batteries are essentially stacked on top of each other, so the floor is much higher. So if you've got long legs, the bottom of your thighs will not be on the seat when you're sitting in the back seat. They'll be up in the air, and your knees will be, kind of up like this. So even though the range will make it a great road trip car, it's probably only going to be a great road trip for two people and some kids. But bottom line, it looks like a decent offering. Similar to the iX3, it's going to be hard for the iX3 to compete with, say, the Rivian R2 or a nicely equipped Model Y, because it's going to be way more expensive. So we'll see how this does. But my prediction is in 2 years you'll be able to lease one for nothing down, and $299, $399 a month, and that'll actually be a really great, really great deal when that happens. But of course, BMW are going to lose 50 grand a car when it gets to that time.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Well, with that, just a couple of things. I'm going to leave the last one for Brian to do the plug on the charge. But just check out our Substack. Also, too, quick shout out to Plug. This is actually one of those really, it's kind of like, as far as like, if you just want to know, what your car is worth, if you even want to sell it, it's kind of like a Carvana. But again, these are, Jimmy, former Tesla. He started this company. You can literally within minutes, you can get pretty much a cash offer and just understand what your vehicle is worth. Actually, March is a great time too. This is when everyone's getting their refund checks back. So potentially a good opportunity. And then if you want to win a free camera, I have not opened mine, but probably one of the, not camera, flashlights, the 16 Arc Pro. We have a giveaway. We're going to be giving away 16 of them. It's in our highlights. If you go to our X page, you can just comment and give a couple follows and just. But yeah, and then I'm going to pass it to Brian to quickly do a quick plug on the charge.
I've been plugging this for months. You guys are sick of it. Well, worry no more. It begins tomorrow. It ends this weekend. Chattanooga Charge. We've got Josh West 24/7. We've got John Tech Geek Tesla out here. We've got Tesla Tino and his lovely wife Nancy are here. We've got so many great people from the community. And at this point, we're like friends, at least maybe family, because so many of us go to so many of the same events over and over that we just end up hanging out all weekend. If you're in Tennessee, ChattanoogaCharge.com. Join us, won't you?
Yeah, and it's a great. I got to go last year, couldn't make it out for personal reasons this year, but super fun event. And then actually, Matthew, I know we can loop back around, but you said you had maybe a cousin or someone that got a quote from Plug.
Yeah, so my cousin's about to sell his 2022 Model Y Performance. He wants to get a Juniper this month, and he got quotes from Tesla, Carvana, AutoNation, CarMax. They all were quoting a trade-in of like 14 up to I think 18,000. And I told him to try Plug, and they offered 21,300. So it was by far the biggest trade-in value. Like wasn't even close. And yeah, so it's seems like a good service. I have never used it, but I think anyone who wants to trade in their car, it's definitely worth getting a quote from them.
Yeah, no, that's huge. At least it's good to shop around. They've been around for several years now. I actually met Jimmy right after he quit Tesla and was starting this thing, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I had a lot of experience working with him when he was at Tesla here and there. So it's definitely something, like I said, you got to make sure you're getting the best bang for the buck when you're selling these cars, especially given some of the depreciation we've seen over the past couple of years. So glad to see the plug, and that actually was not planned. But outside of that, make sure you check out the charge, and we will catch you guys on next Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Pacific Standard Time. And have a good week, everyone.